over time becomes a big business. It's those small, new, family-owned, community-based businesses that create 2/3 of the new jobs, employ half the people, and we are crushing them. With the weight and the complexity of government, for the first time, we're now destroying more businesses than we're creating. Think about that. We're destroying more businesses than we're creating, and so we're crushing economic opportunity. And meanwhile, crony capitalism is alive and well, because there's only one set of folks who can deal with big, powerful, complicated, complex government. And those are the big, the powerful, the wealthy, the well-connected. Every time we roll out another regulation or another law, we make the big bigger, the more powerful, the wealthy wealthier. And if you doubt that, think about the consequences of something like Dodd-Frank. It was supposed to help us all, but what's happened? We have all these rules and regs and laws, and the 10 Wall Street banks that supposedly were too big to fail have become 5 even bigger banks, and meantime thousands of community banks have gone out of business, and now we've created a brand new bureaucracy called the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. It is accountable to no one. Congress has no oversight over it. It is a vast bureaucracy looking at... He said to me, we're losing that sense of possibility. The disquiet that I feel in this nation is Americans are afraid we are losing something, and they know we are missing something. People are afraid that we are losing that sense of limitless possibility that has always defined this nation, that has always defined what we thought about our children and our grandchildren's futures. And when we lose the sense of limitless possibility that has defined this nation, we lose the core of who we are. And what people believe we are missing is leadership. Parking space, you got the perks, you got the big budget, you must be a leader, right? And then I got a little older and wiser. And I learned that people with a big office aren't necessarily leading at all. You see, leadership isn't defined by position or title or how big your office is, your airplane, your helicopter, your ego. And leadership is different than management. You know, managers are people who do the best they can within the status quo. Managers are people who operate within the system. They're not bad people. It's just they don't challenge the system. And because they don't challenge the system, because they get captured by the system as it is, they tend to tinker around the edges of problems. This is not leadership. A leader challenges the status quo. Margaret Thatcher once said, "I am not content to manage the decline of a great nation." Well, neither am I, ladies and gentlemen. I think we have been managing the decline of this great nation for far too long. I am prepared with your support, with your prayers, with your votes, to lead the resurgence of this great nation, because leadership is what is required now. So let us think about what a leader must do in the White House. First, we must restore economic growth. 2%, we are so underperforming the potential of this nation. And that means we need a president in the Oval Office who understands how the economy actually works and where jobs actually come from. Of course, we need a leader who will challenge the status quo in Washington. You know, I get asked all the time by voters, well, how do we reduce our debts and deficits? By the way, how long have we been talking in the Republican Party about reducing debt and deficits? How long have we been talking about limiting the size of government? How long have we been talking about tax reform? We have all the right ideas, folks, but we never get them done, because to get those ideas put in place requires challenging the status quo. So the only way to reduce debts and deficits is what? Grow the economy, cut spending. Grow the economy, cut spending. Grow the economy, cut spending. The good news is, if we cut spending in the right way, we help grow the economy. So if you get a 73,000-page tax code down to 3 pages, you help grow the economy. A whole lot less IRS agents if you've got a 3-page tax code. If you help cut through the regulatory thicket, you help grow the economy. And you know, so many of the rules that the Obama administration has laid out there, they're not laws, they're rules. And they've been laid out by bureaucrats accountable to no one, elected by no one. The EPA has rolled out rules that now give them the power to control 99% of the water of this nation. I can tell you how that's working out in California. The EPA has rolled out rules that are destroying the coal industry as we speak, while meanwhile China builds 4 or 5 new coal plants a week. The FCC just rolled out 400 pages of regulation. All of that has to be rolled back, and you need a whole lot fewer bureaucrats when all those rules aren't in place. Obviously. Here's the things that I think we have to do to cut this bureaucracy down to size, and I am prepared to do them with the help of the citizenship of this nation. Number one, we have to go to zero-based budgeting so we know where every single dollar of your money is being spent. Every dollar is going to have to be justified in every department every year, because when we don't do that, government just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, as it has for 50 years, because the only thing we talk about in appropriations hearings is the new dollars over all the old dollars. So we got to go to zero-based budgeting. We have to empower the inspectors general. Most of the horrors that we learn about government ineptitude and corruption come from inspectors general, but it's hard for them to get that news out. So I would have inspectors general report to Congress so that Congress is accountable for making sure those reports see the light of day. We know, for example, that the Chinese hack into the Office of Personnel Management, that the Office of Personnel Management was warned by their own inspector general over and over and over again to close their security gaps. They didn't do it. We know from the Inspector General that over 300,000 veterans have died awaiting health care. We know from Inspectors General that you can spend all day long in the federal government as an employee watching pornography and earn the same pay, pension, and benefits as somebody trying to do a good job. Really? We can do a lot better than this. We need to go to some version of a meritocracy so that there are consequences. There must be consequences, ladies and gentlemen, when over 300,000 veterans die waiting for health care. And finally, we have 256,000, roughly, federal government bureaucrats who are going to retire. They're baby boomers. They're going to retire in the next 4 or 5 years. Let me promise you, I will not replace a single one. It is a way to reduce the size of government. How do you get all that done? Those are hard things. They haven't been done for a long time. How do you get zero-based budgeting? How do you get some version of a meritocracy? How do you get inspectors general empowered and reporting to Congress? Well, let me tell you a little story, and then I'm going to tell you how we're going to get it done. And it is we, ladies and gentlemen. Veterans Administration wait times in Arizona burst onto the nation's front pages and television screens. Remember that? We were horrified when we learned that veterans had died waiting for health care. And the American people were so outraged that they put enormous pressure on Congress. And what happened? Congress responded, because politicians, representatives do respond to pressure from their constituents. And in 3 short weeks, an amazingly short period of time, Congress passed a bipartisan bill saying that 400 senior executives in the VA could be fired. And President Obama signed it like that. Now, by the way, sadly, only 2 have been fired. But the point is, a precedent was set. Here's what I'm going to do. This is fair warning to all of you. I am going to channel the anger, the frustration, the common sense, and the good judgment of the American people to put pressure on Congress to get every single one of these things done. So any of you who own a flip phone, you must upgrade in the next 18 months. Maybe none of you do, but I meet a lot of folks in New Hampshire and Iowa who are still carrying around their flip phone. Even Lindsey Graham upgraded recently. The point is, I am going to go into the Oval Office once a week, perhaps in the weekly radio address, and I will ask the American people, please take out your smartphones. I'd like to ask you some questions. Do you think it's important that we know where your money is being spent and that we go to some version of zero-based budgeting? press 1 for yes, 2 for no. Ladies and gentlemen, this technology exists, and we should use it. We should use it to do something important, which is to re-engage citizens in the process of their government, and to use the common sense and the good judgment, as well as the frustration and the concern of the American people, to put pressure on their elected representatives so that we can take our government back. And of course, we have to lead in the world. We have to lead in the world. And when we do not lead, the world is a very dangerous place. And it is why, as you heard me say on the debate, that on day one, I will send a crystal clear message to every ally and every adversary we have, that the United States of America will stand with our allies, will confront our adversaries, and make no mistake, we are going to lead. Ladies and gentlemen, we must win this job. We must win in 2016. And I promise you, and I hope you have seen, I am a fearless fighter. I will not falter. I have been tested, and I will fight this fight. But we need a leader in the Oval Office who can do the job as well. Who can do the job as well. So let's think what it takes to do the job. We need someone who understands how the economy actually works. We need somebody who understands how the world works and who's in it. And I have been in and around the world and world leaders and our military and our intelligence community for a very long time. We need somebody who understands bureaucracies, how to cut them down to size and hold them accountable. We need somebody who understands technology. It's a tool that we can use. It's also a weapon being used against us. And most importantly of all, we need somebody who understands what leadership is. That leadership is about challenging the status quo. The highest calling of leadership, it's not about a big title. It's not about a big airplane. It's not about... With Sprout by... Always tall and strong. This nation always will stand tall and strong. She is clear-eyed and resolute. She does not shield her eyes from the realities of the world. She does not blink when confronted with evil. And yet she looks outward into the world, which is the way America must always face, and she holds her torch very high because she knows she is a beacon of hope in a troubled and dangerous world. And Lady Justice holds a sword because she is a fighter. She is a warrior. For the values and the principles that have made this nation great, she holds a scale. And with that scale, she reminds us all of us are equal in the eyes of God. And so all of us must be equal in the eyes of the law and government, powerful and powerless alike. And she wears a blindfold. And with that blindfold, she reminds us that here in this nation, it must be true. It can be true that every American's life, no matter what they look like, no matter how they start, no matter who they are, no matter their circumstances, every American's life is filled with the possibilities that come from their God-given gifts. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very much.